the Madman!
Welcome to Custom Cards of the Week, Death Knight Edition. So let's take a look at what these early pioneers decided to make, Death Knight wise. The Runeforging. 3 mana, equip a weapon based on your runes. There's 11 different types, according to the author, many of which are horrifically imbalanced, and I kind of wanted to show this in order to say, design 1 star, balance 1 star. You can't have a spell like Runeforging, which equips a weapon based on your runes, and create 11 different possibilities, and have them all be so drastically different. Like, some of them are 3/3, some are 5/2, some are 2/4, some are 3/4s. No. And they all have different abilities. What we can do, however, equip a weapon based on your primary rune. So then that would be 4 main possibilities. You have the Frost weapon, the Unholy weapon, the Blood weapon, and then the other weapon. Like 1/1/1 or 0 runes at all if you decide to build that meme deck. This is outside the scope of what I'm going to do, but then you'd give the 4 different ones like something that really represents their runic type well, so that it's memorable enough. So that's how you should go about designing this card, but I think the card text and the card idea is generally good. Next up we got Bony Blacksmith, 3 mana 3/4 undead. Battlecry, give your weapon reborn. Design 4 stars, balance 4 stars. My main comment on this is that the weapon shouldn't have the reborn. It should read, re-equip your weapon with 1 durability the first time it breaks. So Battlecry, give your weapon re-equips with 1 durability the first time it breaks is what it should read. It is a little bit strong as 3 mana 3/4, perhaps 3 mana 3/3. And for what it's worth, it does fit the undead theme of, like, you know, having something come back with 1 health or durability. So I understand the wanting to give it the reborn, you know, tag just to emphasize that this is a Death Knight mechanic, but I think people will understand when you re-equip it with 1 durability or something. Throne of the Lich King. Requirement, you have to be playing 1 of each rune. 3 mana location with 3 durability. Discover a card with 3 blood runes, 3 unholy rune, or 3 ice rune. Don't blame me for stumbling over reading it. That is templated terribly. Design 1 star, balance 3 stars. What the text should read, I believe, is just discover a 3 blood, frost, or unholy rune card. Anyways, there's a big design problem with this card though. It has been mentioned that the 1 of each rune is not intended to be a good archetype. And certainly they wouldn't want you to cheat the primary reason to build your deck with 3 of 1 rune. They wouldn't want you to be able to cheat that into the 1 of each rune deck. If this were a direction that was desired, probably 3 mana 2 durability. If this was a worthwhile location, but again, the fundamental flaw that this is just not actually intended to be good. It shouldn't support an archetype that isn't intended to be good. Alright, let's take a look at our Frost card. Cold Dead Hand. 2 mana, 3 Frost rune requirement. Reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1 and freeze them until your next turn. Wow, first of all, I'm going to say it is not actually easy to design combo cards, and Frost is meant to have mana cheat and combo potential. I think this card is fair. Design 5 stars, balance 5 stars. Might even be a little bit on the weak side, which is why I would propose that it doesn't need a 3 Frost rune requirement. Probably 2 Frost runes is enough, maybe even 1 Frost rune. Frost can refresh the mana crystals, so it already has ways to get more than 10 mana in a round. So being able to discount your hand, I think that's totally fine. Probably won't break anything. Over in Blood, we have Scion, Undead Juggernaut. 7 mana 6/7 undead, 1 blood rune requirement, dual class, warrior death knight. Taunt, death rattle, gain lifesteal, and attack a random enemy twice. Scion is an undead, by the way. Design 2 stars, balance 2 stars. Mistake to make this a dual class card yet have a rune requirement. It's pretty weird because, I mean, obviously as a warrior you can never have the blood rune as an archetype. I know the intent is to either run it in a Death Knight that has 1 blood rune, or the warrior can just run it, but meh. So if there ever were dual class cards, I would expect them to be on Death Knight cards that had no runes, just so you wouldn't have to like explain that whole thing. I looked a little bit into a card that I remembered used to do this, and I realized this is Infiltrator Lillian, kind of. It's a little bit different because Sion's getting lifesteal and it's doing it twice, but the mechanics are a little bit weird because how can Scion attack? It's dead. And suppose it died on the second attack, you know, post-death, the first attack post-death, then how's it going to attack a second time? There's all these rules question, which Infiltrator Lillian solved pretty nicely by creating a copy of Infiltrator Lillian. So Scion, I think, could have a Death Rattle, create a, you know, last gasp Scion who attacks a random enemy and then dies after or something, or like create a 6/7 last gasp Scion with lifesteal and attack 2 random enemies and then die. Like, you could do something like that. By the way, the card is currently overpowered because it's 7 mana 6/7 with a Death Rattle of deal like 12 damage. Perhaps you could make it a 6 mana 6/6 Death Knight card only with a blood rune requirement. No warrior, a little bit too confusing right now. Next we got Bloodthirst, a 0 mana 2 blood rune requirement. Give a friendly minion lifesteal this turn. It attacks random minions until it dies. This is actually much like Provoke. Design 3 stars, balance 5 stars. I think that it's pretty appropriate. This is a good case of copying someone's homework and changing it just enough that it is a different card for different class. Alright, next up, we have the trump card of the week. It's Mind Harvest. 5 mana, 2 blood rune requirement. Take control of an enemy minion, then destroy it. You know, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. You've seen some pretty crazy designs, but this does what the blood side of the Death Knight is intending to do. It is supposed to be good at destroying minions. It has a little bit of a different take on destroying a minion in that first you take control of it and then you destroy it. Thus, you gain a corpse, and also you're particularly good at destroying Death Rattle minions. Currently design 5 stars, balance 3 stars. I would suggest that this card get buffed to 4 mana, and that's fine that it's a power creep on Assassinate because it has a 2 blood rune requirement. Assassinate is a weak card, but yeah, just a very, very solid design with very minimal change, like 1 mana off. I could see it just printed, and it's a good design on a basic blood design card that I could totally see them having. We got some unholy cards coming up. We have Undying Curse, 2 unholy rune, give your minions reborn. Pretty simple effect. Sure, design 4 stars, balance 5 stars. I think it's about right in balance. Reminds me of Soul of the Forest. I think that it's too simple. I think that it also might be a little bit out of flavor. The Death Knight cards on the undead side, on the unholy side, that we saw were all like buffing their attack. I don't think Death Knight's making their own minions stickier, even though it's like having them die and then just be reborn again. It's like, it's kind of adjacent enough in flavor that I'm like, yeah, sure, I could see it, but in truth, I don't really see it. It probably would have been better if it gave your undead minions reborn. That becomes a really niche card in that case. Which is probably why it should be like a minion then. Like some sort of necromancer with a battle cry. Anyways, I think it's fine. Fine is being used in the Sure, but I say it's fine, but it's not really fine, but I'm gonna give it a pass. Kind of fine. Next up we got Skogger, Ogre of the Scourge. 3 unholy rune requirement. 6 mana, 6/7. Battlecry, spend 6 corpses to change the stats of all your minions to 6/7, wherever they are. This wasn't labeled as a humorous card, so I can only guess that it was actually intended to be a real card. Design 1 star, balance 1 star. You can't change the base stat line of minions to 6/7. It's just like too powerful. Yes, for 7 mana you can double the stats in your deck, but doubling like a 1 mana 2/2, it makes it a 1 mana 4/4, and that's kind of scary and fine. But changing your 1/1 with a useful battle cry to a 6/7 for 1 mana, like that's a blowout right there. So way too powerful if it changed the stats in your deck. Also way too powerful to buff your minions, like your 1/1 undeads or 2/2 undeads on the board, to 6/7. As a reminder, like Druid runs Pride's Fury, which is what, +1/+3 to all their stats. That definitely makes them less than 6/7 still. So Skogger changing them, buffing them all to a 6/7 outright, way too strong. And the same reasoning for the deck in the hand. It's like just too powerful to have low cost minions be 6/7. We conclude with Putricide, the Putrifier. 7 mana, 3 unholy rune requirement, 3/7, undead. Battlecry, give all undead in your hand, deck, and battlefield poisonous. Design 3 stars? Balance 5 stars. I actually think that this card could be printed and it would be okay for the game. As in it wouldn't break anything, but what I would fear is that this card screams super anti-fun. It creates that kind of inevitability and the kind of hopelessness when all of your undead, like your dinky little 1 mana 2/2, just comes into play and has poisonous. It's like, oh, well, my deck that runs big minions, it's completely useless now. I can never beat you. It's slow, and in terms of competitive play, like, you could deal with all cards being poisonous. Putricide, by the way, gives himself poisonous when he comes in, so he's like better my Exna. Which, you know, is totally fine. My Exna is not a problem. But the problem is, like, just because it can be dealt with a competitive deck, doesn't mean it should be in the game, because I think it would be incredibly frustrating to deal with a deck full of poisonous minions. So I thought it was an interesting custom Hearthstone week here. Because Death Knight cards, you know, we don't really know how they play out, so it is understandably difficult to design cards for a class that you've only seen, you know, very short amount of time and you haven't seen play out in real life. Keep at it. I hope to see cooler and more implementable Death Knight cards in the future, and I'm sure there will be.